I'm Teisha Bader, and in the news, a long-awaited homecoming for over 200 Olim, new immigrants from Ethiopia who arrived in Israel this past Wednesday, part of the country's mission to continue to bring Ethiopian Jews and family members of those already in Israel home to the Jewish state. Many of those who arrived at Ben Gurion Airport on Wednesday have been waiting for years, even decades, to reunite with their loved ones. Well, CEO and president of the Jewish Federations of North America, Eric Fingerhut, was part of the mission. He spent time in Gondar, one of the main holding camps in Ethiopia, and accompanied the Aliyah flight back to Israel. And he joins us now from New York. Eric, thank you so much.
Thank you, Teisha. It's great to be with you.
This was just days ago, Eric, so I'm sure you're exhausted. And I can only imagine from the pictures, from the video, that this was a very emotional, very dramatic journey. Can you tell us a little bit about your time in Gondar and then on the flight back to Israel?
Sure. Well, first of all, it is really an amazing community, very close-knit, as you said. They first-degree relatives of people, mostly who've already made Aliyah, who've been wanting to reunite, and regardless of halachic status, they're clearly identify and practice Jewishly. We attended a beautiful Shacharit service one morning with nearly 1,000 people. We also saw the history of the great moments of Aliyah from Ethiopia, Operation Moses, Operation Solomon, the routes that those who were smuggled out of Ethiopia through Sudan took. It's very emotional and really can't help but make you proud of our Jewish state, the state of Israel, and our Jewish communities across North America that have supported this work for decades.
And I know that part of this mission was not just to bring the Olim to Israel, but also to really get a sense of what the needs were and are on the ground in Gondar. What are some of the things that you found there that maybe surprised you or you didn't know about?
Yeah, well, first of all, I really do want to praise the work of our partners, the Jewish Agency for Israel, that is responsible for helping implement this government decision to bring 3,000 more, working with the families to get all the documents in order, get the flights, and get people to Aliyah. But on the ground, there's also humanitarian needs. People who have been wanting to make Aliyah, economically are struggling, and medicine and other humanitarian needs. And also, there's violence in the country. There's a civil war, and it's actually gotten worse recently. We met with the American charged affairs there in the United States, who said, frankly, the federal government of Ethiopia doesn't really control the entire country. And we traveled with armed guards everywhere we went. So you can imagine what the security needs are on the ground. We also are proud, through the Jewish Federations of North America, to support the struggle to save Ethiopian Jews, which is a nonprofit that works on the ground to provide the security and humanitarian needs. And we also support that work as well.
So, Eric, give us some examples of what it was like, just some of the people you met, some of those who have been, as I mentioned, many of whom have been waiting for decades in Gondar. In fact, there's a picture on Twitter from Federations or from the Jewish Agency of a young man who was born in Gondar. He's now, I believe, 27 or 28 years old, just got to Israel, was born in that holding camp. So his entire life has been there, which is remarkable. What are some of the things you heard from people there?
I have to tell you, this is, and I'm so glad we did this right before the Rosh Hashanah holidays begin. If you want to be uplifted, this was the way to do it. Despite the hardships that they've been living in, despite which I spoke about, despite the length of time that they've been waiting, it was an enormously joyful experience. The experience of finally getting on this plane was like a celebration. They were dressed in their very best clothes, whether it was Ethiopian clothes or many of them bought Western clothes. And it really, people, as they were getting on the plane, our group was cheering. They were waving and cheering and singing. And this is the fulfillment of a lifetime dream for those of us who are Zionists and who just revel and marvel in the rebirth of the Jewish state. And to see people with such love of Zion and such love of the state of Israel and so eager to begin their lives there. It was really uplifting. And so you mentioned, young men and women in their teens, early 20s, who've been waiting really their whole lives and can't wait to enroll in schools and training programs and Ulpan and to be able to start their lives. There were many young children, babies, and 3, 4, 5-year-olds who probably won't remember Ethiopia, but will grow up Israeli. You walk down the aisles of the plane, and our members of our group brought stickers and candy. The kinds of things you play with little kids. The universal efforts to entertain kids. But you're looking and say, which one of these young children is going to be the next great scholar, the next great businessman, the next great political leader? The prime minister of Israel could be on this plane, 40 years from now. It's so moving, and it was really uplifting. And again, I just can't say how proud we are that of course we're proud that Israel brings these Olim to the Jewish state, but proud that the Jewish communities of the world and the Jewish community of North America, in partnership with the Jewish Agency for Israel, so proud that we play a role in making this happen.
Absolutely. And we do have some video. You mentioned attending a morning prayer service in Gondar. And there was also the singing of Israel's national anthem, Hatikva. We want to play that for you now. So incredibly moving, Eric. And there's a quote you said, I want to just read it. You wrote, "The true heroes of the Ethiopian Aliyah are the Olim themselves, who have waited so long for this moment, yet never lost Hatikva," which is the name of Israel's national anthem, the hope that they would one day reach the land of Israel. It really is astounding that for decades, and this place they've never been to, this place that they have dreamed of, the state of Israel, they are so committed to the Jewish history, the Jewish people, and have gone through, as you said, such hardship, and yet they have sustained this deep, profound connection for so many decades, so many years. What do you account that for?
Well, I believe in I believe that there is a deep historical connection. I believe that all Jews are connected to each other, and they have felt this draw to Zion. I don't know what else to say. But the spirit was so uplifting, and not any casting of blame. Why did it take so long? Just an eagerness to go and to build their lives and be part of the Jewish people and part of the Jewish state. I suppose, Teisha, it's the same reason why Jews for millennia, recite in our prayers our hope for the rebuilding of Jerusalem and the rebuilding of the Jewish state of V'nei Yerushalayim HaKodesh B'mei Yameinu. Right, this is what we say, all the time, and we're witnessing it, and we get to be a part of it. whether it's that we choose to move there or whether we just travel there and do business there or have family. I can get on a plane and go to Israel anytime I want. But these wonderful, wonderful Olim had to wait for all the processes of government and all the processes of the world to move forward. And they're going to be such contributors to Israel and to the Jewish people. It's really a historic moment.
And it really is so moving, as you said, that celebratory feeling that you spoke about, it is palpable. I mean, just watching the videos, it was just so inspiring. And I loved, you talk about what will these children become? Who will these teenagers become? And Peninnah Tamano-Shata, of course, Israel's Minister of Aliyah and Absorption, was rescued in the 80s as a small child. And here she is, a minister for the state of Israel, an incredible figure, an inspiring figure. And I love what she said in that welcome ceremony. She spoke about, I really believe we are one tribe. This is not a tribe of Israel. This is not one kind of Jew. We are one people. And she was just filled with so much, you could see it, so much pride and so much hope in that moment. And it was just a really beautiful thing to see.
She's an outstanding leader. And you're right. It's exactly right. That when you see Minister Tamano-Shata representing the government of Israel, the minister, she's the first highest ranking minister. There have been others in Knesset, but she's the first minister of government responsible for Aliyah and absorption. I know she feels it so deeply. And in many ways, this Aliyah is to her great credit that she helped move the government processes forward that made it happen. And you're right, she's a total inspiration. But I have to say, we have shlichim on college campuses in America who came from Ethiopia when they were young and grew up in Israel and served in the IDF and now are on college campuses, talking, teaching about the state of Israel, defending the state of Israel, when they need to. At the Jewish Agency, a number of the professionals who came with us to Ethiopia themselves had made Aliyah when they were young. One of them had been part of the march across the desert to Sudan. It's really just we're unlocking the potential, of the future. But you talked about having Minister Tamano-Shata speak and welcome them and say we're all one people. So then after that you have Carolyn Gitlin, the chair of our National Women's Philanthropy, Hartford, Connecticut, together with Lauren Banneman, the co-chair of our National Young Leadership Cabinet of the Jewish Federations, stand up together and say, you are our brothers and sisters. Now, if you are touched by, Jewish communal leaders from Hartford, Connecticut and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, standing up at Ben Gurion Airport, welcoming 215 Olim from Ethiopia and saying, you are our brothers and sisters, then you've got a heart of stone, right? It has to melt you.
Absolutely. And Eric, I would imagine that you've worked for Jewish causes your entire adult life. I believe you were at Hillel before federations. I can only imagine what it felt like for you to, you work for these causes and for the benefit of the Jewish people and for bringing Jews from all over the world that are in peril, but to actually be there indeed and to be there physically must have had a profound effect on you personally, I would imagine.
It is indeed. And of course, I'm so proud and privileged, to be in the position that I'm in, working with the Jewish Federations of North America, but and partnering with the Jewish Agency, and the government of Israel. But really, it's the reason I do this work is that I believe in community. We're a communal people. We operate the best when we operate collectively. We don't live on mountaintops. We don't live, on Walden Pond. We pray as a community. We mourn as a community. We celebrate as a community, and we act collectively. This is the result of collective action. This wasn't one person's initiative. Minister Tamano-Shata was important, but so was the Jewish Agency. So was the donors in North America. So were the people in Ethiopia who kept their communities tight and organized and together all these years. This is a collective act. And that's, to me, what makes it so powerful. We're coming up on the high holidays, and when we say our confessions and when we say our prayers, we're gonna pray collectively, right? We are responsible one for another. And so that's what's so moving to me, is to see the power of the collective in action. People like to joke about Jewish community. We've got so many organizations and the alphabet soup of Jewish organizations, but this is why, because you can accomplish things collectively that you could never do on your own. It's why we've survived for 4,000 years. And it's why here we are today in this miraculous time in Jewish history, with the strong state, sovereign state, Jewish state, about to celebrate its 75th, anniversary of independence, strong, making peace with its neighbors in the Gulf, bringing on the cutting edge of technology, and bringing Olim from Ethiopia to become part of the country. It's a miraculous time. I feel blessed to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And let's talk a bit about the Aliyah process, because as federations and the Jewish Agency, they speak about, this is just the beginning, right? This is a process. These 209 Olim, and there were others that came earlier this year, and there will be more coming soon. It's an integration process. It's not an easy thing for anyone, whether you're coming from an English-speaking country and you've perhaps had more, benefit of Jewish education or what have you, to if you're coming from Ukraine or from Poland or from Ethiopia. It is a challenging time, and it can really be very, very difficult. What are you seeing, and what are you hoping for down the road?
So first of all, you're exactly right, and we've talked about the Ethiopia experience and the flights, but we haven't yet in this conversation spoken about the efforts that are made by the government, by our partners, the Jewish Agency, and with our support at absorption. There are now 5 absorption centers open, welcoming the Ethiopian Olim who've come over this last couple of years. And that's where most of these who came with us on this flight will go to initially, where they'll learn Hebrew and socialize into the culture, and eventually, of course, enroll in courses and pursue careers. And it takes time. We in most of the North American Jewish community is only 2 or 3 generations away from being immigrants ourselves. I myself, my mother and father were both first generation born in this country. Both my grandparents came from Eastern Europe, and we know that sometimes first generation immigrants take off. We saw many examples of that. Sometimes it takes 2, even 3 generations, to fully integrate into society. But if you go to if you view any of the army ceremonies, or if you look at the graduation ceremonies in the universities in Israel, or if you other signs of where the society, where the assimilation into society, you'll see the diversity of the state, and you'll know that that's truly promising for the future.
And there are services in place, as you said, to help in those challenges along the way. And it does take time. And the state of Israel is committed. This is part of Operation Sur Yisrael. We should mention the Rock of Israel and this restarting of flights. As you mentioned, Penina Tamano-Shata, very active in getting this off the ground again. There was a lot of red tape to go through, a lot of bureaucracy, that things were on hold for quite a long time. So this is part of this kind of renewal to let's get these people to Israel.
And really, you're right to emphasize the absorption. And of course, look, Israel's not perfect, and the services aren't perfect. And we can always do better, and we need to do better. It is a long process. It takes time. But after we landed on Wednesday with the new Olim, and on Thursday we visited one of the absorption centers just to see how it's going at Kiryat Gat, which, by the way, was a partnership with our great Jewish Federation of Chicago that helped build Kiryat, the absorption center there in Kiryat Gat. And we met with some who've been there 2 weeks and some have been there a year, and you really could see both the progress that people are making, and that it's going to be challenging, right? That it's a really a very big cultural change from where they grew up. But I feel very, very confident that this is going to be like the Russian Jews were. This is going to be a major benefit to Israeli society in every way, culturally, economically, and certainly in terms of strengthening the soul and the relationships of the Jewish people.
And what is the ultimate goal of this mission? Is there sort of a time frame? I know that the government said they were hoping to bring a total of 3,000 Ethiopians who've been waiting in Gondar to Israel. So what is the time frame we're looking at now?
Yeah, so the original plan was 18 months to bring these 3,000. Of course, COVID, the rise and fall of it changed the time schedule a little bit. So I'm not sure exactly where we are in terms of the time window, but we've been, having in our minds the 3,000. And we're well on our way, I think halfway or more towards that. There are more that would like to come and that we would like to bring. I think we had hoped that there might be another government decision on it imminently. Of course, we now have an Israeli election coming up, so it'll take a while before the government forms. But certainly, it's our hope that after a new government is formed, that we'll be able to bring additional lists and additional names of people that the government will want to approve to join us in Israel.
Well, I just want to extend on behalf of all of us our thanks to you, to the Jewish Agency, federations, and to the State of Israel for it's a lot to make this happen. I can only imagine on this scale, going to Gondar, spending the time, learning about the history of this community who is just incredible, dealing with challenges on the ground, bringing them back to Israel, and then continuing the journey with them. And it's such a beautiful reminder, as you said, just before the high holidays, that we are one people, that we may look different, we may speak different languages, we may come from different places. And it's also a beautiful reminder of, as you said, the joy and celebration that these Olim felt coming to Israel, not something that they take for granted for a moment. And as you said, Israel's not perfect, it has its challenges, and we can all sort of forget about that incredible connection we all have and the incredible dream of the Jewish state being a reality. So it's really just a lovely reminder on so many levels.
Teisha, it really, the timing couldn't have been more perfect. As we were leaving, we knew we were going back to our own homes for Rosh Hashanah. I was thinking about, as we also beginning our Slichot prayers, in our Avinu Malkeinu prayers, right? We say, Avinu Malkeinu Kadvenu b'Sefer Chaim Tovim. Of course, we want to be inscribed for a good year, but we also say Kadvenu b'Sefer Ligula V'Shua, right? That we should be inscribed in a book of redemption and deliverance. And we're able to say that we have actually participated in deliverance and redemption. And God willing, we'll have the zechut, the merit, the privilege to do that again in the coming year.
Eric, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, especially just days after this momentous trip and journey. We wish you the best. And of course, to the Olim that have come and continue to come and are in Israel now, one day at a time, to just the best on this journey that is not without its challenges, but we are just all rejoicing with them that they've finally reached this dream they've had for so many years, and hope that all those who are waiting in Gondar still will be able to have that same opportunity.
Thank you, Teisha. Thanks so much for doing this story. And Shana Tova to you.
Shana Tova. Eric Fingerhut is CEO and president of the Jewish Federations of North America. And we thank him so much for his time. Many thanks also, of course, to our director, Sloan Copeland, managing director, Dara Golub, our technical manager, Michael Paley, transmissions manager, John McDeffett, and to our producer, Carol Lilienthal. And thank you for watching In the News.